Hello, welcome to Teenage Tangents, a podcast that talks about our stories and struggles. My name is Jolinna Li, and I'm a senior in high school somewhere in America. I'm joined by Rose Biddle, my good friend. Our podcast is going to be a vignette style. In its first half, which is a fancy way of saying that either me or Rose will be sharing an essay we write, and the second half will be a discussion. So without further ado, let's get started. When people say that we are the accumulations of our experiences, I mostly agree, with one crater-sized caveat. I would say that we are the accumulation of our memories. When I squint my eyes in a vain attempt to recollect, I am reminded of how terrible my memory is, as if I leave everything that happens to me in a shady basement closet, where moths and other critters have a rave, leaving behind only vaguely connected pieces. A part of me is quite insecure about my lack of vibrant sequences of my childhood, so be grateful that I'm even writing about it right now. I always find people who can remember things well to be kind of magical. But maybe, just maybe, there's a slight advantage to my shaky memories. By trying to remember them through my writing, I can make meaning of my childhood events without worrying about how the truth diverges. After all, I don't remember much, so I'll have to fill in the holes myself. Alright. One of my most exciting memories, probably because I retell it so much, is the grandma knife turtle story. Imagine this. It's the summer of 2010, and it's sacrilegiously hot. And my grandparents were here from Shanghai. On food, my parents held the view of, oh, look at these Americans with their chicken breasts. So boring and dry. We don't waste food. We eat everything. And I agreed, low-key. I always found the whole Asian people eat everything concept to be fun and quirky. And as the kid that was already the odd one out, I like shocking people a little bit. So I wielded my mom's exotic dishes as shiny accessories to impress my classmates with. Back to my grandparents. Naturally, when the old couple was transplanted from a concrete metropolis and plopped into the glorious, say it with me now, American suburbia, they were excited and ravenous when they saw the amount of wildlife around our house and the little pond behind it. In the spring, turtles from our pond crawl up to lay eggs. Unluckily for those turtles, my grandma became the self-appointed gatekeeper of our quarter-acre lot. I remember fooling around in the backyard, probably with a stick. I have no idea, my memory again is trash. And then I witnessed a bizarre sight. My grandma, squatted on the ground, had a giant cutting board before her. On the cutting board was a turtle, all of its appendages sucked into its shell, with her curly gray hair a bit ruffled, probably from retrieving the turtle. My grandma peered into the shell impatiently, a silver kitchen knife glistening in her right hand. Clunk, clunk. My grandma smacked the knife onto the board a few times, as if the turtle would hear the banging of its guillotine and just stick its neck out promptly. I was fascinated, although a little bit riled. Unlike cute bunnies and cats, turtles seemed a bit alien, I guess. And okay to behead in our backyard, but the thought of beheading a turtle still felt a little wrong. It's experiences like these that make me feel a bit other. So in middle school, I sort of embraced the wackiness I felt, but the feeling of unbelonging still lingered. And as I entered high school, the imposter syndrome only crescendoed. I remember going to a friend's birthday party, being the only non-white girl there, and I felt so out of place. Like that, scared to get out of my shell. I was so scared to be who I am. And my lactose-intolerant ass made it even worse since my friend's mother made me special non-dairy food. So I was like extra special, you know? And everyone was super nice. But all I could feel was a prickling sense of being alien, and a voice would just chant in my head, you don't belong, you don't belong, you don't belong. In light of the recent Georgia shooting and the long-time running violence against Asian Americans since the pandemic, I think this idea of unbelonging has resurfaced, or rather, the feeling of never have been belonging. Because racism to Asian Americans is unique in that it focuses around the idea that we are foreign and not really American, induces an identity crisis on the Asian American community. And there's a history of this in the US, especially during a crisis. Minority groups are scapegoated, nativist movements are quick to draw lines in the sand. Asian Americans were great when they provided labor, but once they were viewed as a threat to white workers, the tables were turned on them. Violence against Chinatown in San Francisco resulted in devastating damage to the Chinese community, and the barring of jobs from Asian groups became common practice along the West Coast. The funny, although more sad than funny, thing is that violence and racism towards Asian people has always been a thing. It's just so passive-aggressive in times of relative peace that it goes unnoticed. But now it's here under the sun. We're reminded that there are many in America who never believed that this is our home too. In Lulu Wang's film The Farewell, starring Awkwafina, there's one scene that hits me especially hard. The main character, a second-generation Asian American, is at a hotel. The hotel worker carries her luggage up to her room, and through their conversation, he learns that the main character is from America. And he asks her which country she likes more, America or China. This question is something second-generation Asian Americans face quite often. Although it's pretty superficial and we probably cop out by saying, oh, both are great, or they both have pros and cons, it prods as something that every child of an immigrant ponders about. The divergence of two cultures we have been raised in. One culture that is leading the life burgeoning ahead, and the other history and language that feels like it's being inevitably sewn shut behind us. Yes, we are both Asian and American, but we also understand that we are something else entirely. So when I talk to my Asian friends in America, there's an understanding, a bond that is born of our intensely unique experience. I feel like in a lot of places in America, white is so default that tokenism is inevitable. People look to me like I'm a flagpole of my race and culture, like it's my job to give them a tidbit about some exotic place they have not been. And I feel obliged to do so because the alternative means that I have to forego my race and culture and become a part of the whiteness around me. I'm so frustrated and tired of it. But it's not as if I have a perfect solution. Many of the times I actually enjoy sharing my culture. I just hate that sometimes that is all I am there to do. It's like I'm torn between disgust of how I've conformed and how I've not conformed enough. Quick note, all stereotypes are bad. Even the quote-unquote good stereotypes. Assuming all Asian Americans are smart puts us up to impossible standards. Imagine being bullied for not being good enough at math. Psych! That happens all the time when people assume that your entire race can work in abacus. Like, seriously? And even when we are very good at math, it's not even given a second glance because we're just fulfilling the assumption. It's a lose-lose. Sometimes I feel like being a minority in America is like not being given a blank slate. I want to write my own story, but my slate's already covered with scribbles and angry red marks. I'm so busy trying to erase stuff and make corrections when my peers are already making their finishing touches. In Gia Tolentino's debut book, Trick Mirror, she talks about how, as a Filipino-American, she came to the realization that she could always see herself as the heroine in novels, but that the heroines would never be seen as someone like herself. I related intensely to this. Inclusivity is not a cure-all, but it's in dire need. I remember for a brief period of my life when I wish I had lighter hair and paler skin, and who was to blame me? The TV shows and cartoons my classmates were obsessed with featured skinny white girls who were complimented and adored. And isn't that what everyone wants? To be adored, to be loved? That's why shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender, Naruto, and a bunch of Chinese cartoons that my parents smuggled from China will always hold a dear place in my heart. Media shapes how we see the world, and I think it's wonderful that Asian Americans are being represented more and more in our media. Writing this script is pretty darn aggravating. I often try not to talk about my race. I often feel the need to not speak up, using my hard work as the only message necessary. I sort of censor myself because I don't want to seem like a needy person, which sounds really dumb when I say it out loud, because expressing oneself is an action on its own. When ignorant people treat Asian as a monolith, we are tempted to respond in those terms, and unfortunately I've done so. I can't speak for all Asian people. The label of Asian itself lumps together so many completely different cultures and languages and countries. We all face our unique challenges, and I don't have the capacity to illuminate all of our struggles, and I hope that this episode can inspire conversation. I've decided to recommend some pieces of media that can help you understand Asian culture. I recommend Over the Moon, The Farewell, Parasite, Minari, and the Police Story movies. I mean, those are just fun. And also just the Studio Ghibli movies, which are all high-key masterpieces. I think Studio Ghibli movies use a different storytelling technique that is very refreshing compared to a lot of Western animation. And that's why I recommend it. I think it'll give you a new perspective. And if you're looking for some fantasy novels, I highly recommend the Poppy War series by R.F. Kuang. It's based around the Sino-Japanese conflict, but with magic and gods and a lot of action. It is so gory, but so glorious. Almost American Girl by Robin Hobb is a realistic fiction comic book about a Korean girl moving to America, and I found it very heartwarming. It's about what home really means, and it was also cool for me to see how Asian people experienced America in the 1990s. And lastly, I would like to recommend Trick Mirror by Gia Tolentino that I mentioned before. It's a collection of reflective essays that I found very insightful and informative. I think the concept of memory we have is very flawed. It's not a tape that rewinds. It's a collection of random, sparse, vibrant, devastating images and sounds and feelings that are emboldened every time they resurface. But so is our history. Our history is not a record of events and battles and famous people. Like how recollection is warped by remembrance. How my Grandma Turtle's story becomes more vivid every time I tell it. Our collective story is also warped by how we choose to narrate it. And when it comes to the history of Asian Americans in this country, it has been an asterisk in our classrooms, smudged, sidelined, tucked under the rug. The only way forward is relearning and empathy. So much empathy. Thank you for listening.
Just stare into the camera.
Yes. This is where there's a zoom in. Okay. Welcome to the second half of our second episode. And we're going to talk about, I don't know, when I was writing this down, I was like, Asian stuff? Question mark? It was just so awkward. I don't know how to describe it, but I guess stuff related to being an Asian American and our experiences. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Kevin. I am your resident Asian. Yeah, I guess you could call me Korean as well. I'm Korean American. Yep.
Okay, great. So, oh my gosh, how do I start this off? First thing I thought about was, personally, my parents don't put that kind of Asian pressure that people really think. I mean, I don't know. A lot of my teachers think that Asian parents put pressure on their kids, but in my family, it's there's no pressure whatsoever, and it's just internalized pressure, if that makes sense.
You have taken all the pressure on yourself.
Yes. So how do you feel about that? Or
yeah, my parents are not tiger parents either.
Yeah.
They're really chill. They don't check my grades very often. They let me practice as much as I want to for an instrument. Well, I guess that's one thing, that I am kind of the stereotype of an Asian person.
The music part?
Well, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, but my parents are very hands-off. I think my sister actually got the short end of the stick as the first child. She was the one that my parents forced to read all the Nobel Prize winning books. She still complains to this day about reading Beloved in 8th grade because she
Oh
had
my
no
gosh.
idea.
I'm about to read that in 12th grade and I'm already scared.
Yeah,
I can't.
no, it's not a great book in 12th grade, and and for an 8th grader, I can't imagine reading that or being forced to read that.
Mm-hmm.
Not for school.
Yeah, I think my parents put more pressure on my sister. But then they realized that I just beat myself up. So they don't even need to do the work. I just put pressure on myself. It's wonderful.
They're laughing in the background. She does it for us. She does it for us.
And yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine who's Asian yesterday, and she talked about that too. She's literally the most hardcore person, or I don't know. And she was like, yeah, my parents don't put any pressure on, or I think in the Asian community it's getting better, or at least from where I'm sitting. But maybe that's just because I'm about to graduate and leave.
Are your parents connected with the Asian network, or in our case the Korean network?
Oh, I think my parents used to be very connected, but because they had my sister and I at an older age, I think their age is a little bit different. So then it's we are, but also we aren't. But no, I don't think they're that close, but we do know some families, and especially when I was younger, and it was pretty crazy.
Because I'm wondering the correlation between pressure on their kids compared to their connection with the Korean network, so they have other families' kids to compare against.
That's true.
Because I feel in Northern Virginia,
Yeah.
I hear a lot more stories about
Northern
tiger
Virginia.
moms and tiger dads.
Yeah. What about your family? With the Korean network? that?
So yeah, there's the Korean network.
It sounds kind of scary, actually. I don't know.
It is scary. There's so much pressure when you're part of the Korean network, but thankfully, my sister was the one who lived through the period when my family was connected with the Korean network.
Oh, you guys got cut off, or you guys cut yourselves off, or just...
Generally, like, our family kind of drifted out of it over time.
I think, yeah, that's what happened with my family, too. We were just like, nah, really, I don't know.
Yeah, and half of them moved to Northern Virginia, so, like...
To join.
to join the bigger, more elite Korean network.
Oh, that's, interesting.
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger, I went to all these, like, huge Chinese parties, and they were always so fun. And, like, I don't know, it was like we were kind of all crazy. Ah.
Yeah.
And, like, I was the kid who, like, had no talent, but the only talent I had was, like, I could speak good Chinese. So, like, that was the only thing I had. But, like, other kids are, like, I don't know, winning piano competitions and whatever.
That's very true. Very few, like, first generation, like, Asian Americans, I feel like they often speak less and less of, like, their parents' language.
Yeah,
like,
me too, actually. I don't know, it's kind of hard to... I speak English with my sister, because it's just, like, we can speak faster that way. And whenever she switches to Chinese, or if I switch to Chinese, it's a little bit awkward. I don't know.
Yeah. Definitely my sister is a lot better at Korean than me. So at family gatherings, she gets more praise.
I guess, like, what is up with Asian parents' obsession with, like, music? Or is it music? I guess it could be, like, art.
Well, there's a lot of, like, scientific studies about how music makes you more intelligent or makes your brain function more efficiently. But I also think it's, like, a big part of, like, diligently practicing every day, which I think, like, diligent...
Oh, no. Yeah.
concerted work every day is, like, a big value in a lot of Asian cultures.
Yeah,
which is not represented in me.
Oh, no, you're very diligent. But, like, yeah, I think it's definitely that. It was never really about the art or music, I feel like. Because it's like, they don't want you to be a musician. They want you to be, like, a doctor or whatever. But it's like, but you should do music. So, like, I don't know. It's just you train your brain.
Makes the house sound nice.
Not when I play.
That you sound great.
Do you think you're gonna continue playing music he plays the cello, by the way, in college?
I want to join the orchestra. I don't know, actually, yeah, I don't know how stressful it'll be, because I have no idea how much work is coming with college, but I definitely want to continue playing.
Oh yeah, speaking of college, how is this whole, like, I don't know, I think the college application is a little bit different for us compared to, like, other people, because I have a lot of friends who are, like, applying to only in-state schools, and I think that's great, but, like, I don't know, I feel like that was just never an option for me.
My parents weren't really involved in the college application process, and so originally I planned on applying to, like, all the elite universities and a lot of out-of-state universities, but I actually destroyed my confidence reading a bunch of online forums, which I will highly recommend against. Like, reading a lot of forums, like Chance Me on Reddit.
Oh, don't ever read Chance Me. Chance Me destroys all. No.
Yeah, it destroys all your self-worth as a human being. So yeah, I ended up not applying to that many. I only applied to, like, one elite university, and then I applied to a couple out of state.
Nice.
And in-state.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna end up going to in-state. Honestly, I think the odds this year were really bad. Like, I don't know.
Every year it gets worse.
It's pretty bad this year. I didn't apply to anything on the West Coast, so.
Yeah, it's too far away.
Yeah, I was like, forest fires, and then I was like, bad air quality, no. No.
I mean, I think you'd be safe from fires in LA, but
True.
Bad air quality.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting how people defend the people who are doing the crime. Here in the discussion, I sort of jump right into recent events relating to the shooting in Georgia, but also just the accumulation of violence against Asian Americans in the past year, I guess now. So it might seem a bit jumpy here, but that is what I'm talking about. is like, I don't know, especially the Georgia shooting. I don't know.
Is this in reference to the sheriff's comments?
Yeah. And the whole like sex addiction part, which is like, I don't know. I think, is that really, I don't think that's really a justification. I don't, well, it's hate crime.
It isn't a justification, but like, if the cause or the motive was sex addiction, it's still not justified.
Yeah.
If it was,
Or it's like, it was just a bad day. It's like, I mean, it was a worse day for the people that you killed, like, right? Like, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I can say it's very upsetting, but I can do say my parents didn't seem surprised.
Yeah, mine not really either.
Especially in light of like all the hate crimes during COVID and like the huge uptick in violence against Asian Americans.
Yeah. Like, my mom wore masks because of, like, pollen, you know? Like, before COVID. And then sometimes she'd be like, whenever I get close to people, I'll take my mask off because they'll think I'm a weird Asian person. But it's like, but then it's like, everyone's wearing masks now, so haha. I don't know. Because my family was like, you should wear masks, like, way, like, when COVID started, but not when, like, pandemic hit America.
Okay.
I didn't because I was afraid of, like, I don't know, being weird. If that even, yeah.
Gotta stick with the crowd. Can't seem out of place.
Yeah. Is that I think, yeah, some Asian people do feel the need to stay with the crowd, which I understand because it's like, I don't know, it's easier.
Yeah, it definitely is easier.
Yeah. In elementary school, I was never, like, directly bullied because I was Asian, but I had friends who were, and, like, I don't know.
Wait, what were they bullied for?
Just, you know, the usual, the, like, eyes and, like, the, you know, like, that kind of stuff. It's like, I don't know, it's not very original at first. But, like, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the things for being bullied for as being an Asian American is being bad at math when you're supposed to be good at math and having small eyes.
Yeah. Oh, no. Also eating dogs, which is, like...
That is... very true.
Which is really weird because these people are probably like waking up and eating bacon in the morning, and it's like, what is, I mean, if you're gonna condemn, like, I think eating dogs is bad, but really how much worse is like eating other kinds of meat, right? Like,
you're getting mobbed by all the dog people in the world, right?
What I mean is, like, I don't know, like, the other animals are like just deemed by American society to be okay to eat. And dogs aren't in this society. And I mean, I own 2 dogs. I don't eat dogs. You know.
Yeah, that's very true. Like wet markets, people, like, people seem to, like, think that Asian people eat strange foods or creatures.
And it's like, low-key we do. I've eaten a snake before.
That's so cool.
I know, it was really crispy. They like fried it too.
What does it taste like?
It was just really crispy. It didn't even taste like snake. It was just like crispy, like anything that was crispy. They just like deep fried it. I don't know.
Interesting.
What was the weirdest food you've eaten?
The weirdest food I'm not very proud of this, but I ate horse in Jeju Island when we were visiting Korea. And it was raw as well.
What?
I was not a big fan of that. But my relatives were like, eat it. And I was very nervous because I hadn't met them before, and they were just speaking large amounts of Korean at me that I didn't understand. So
Oh yeah.
And my dad was like putting more on my plate, and so I felt very pressured to power through and take a bite.
Yeah. What did it taste like?
I think I've repressed that memory.
Okay. Yeah. Have you seen the movie Farewell?
No, I haven't.
It's a good movie. But in that movie, there's like the weird thing. So it was this woman who traveled back to China, and then it was like about her experiences there, and her grandma was also dying of cancer. But that's not really the point I'm making. So basically, there's this scene at the dinner table when all of her relatives are like, so which country do you like more? Korea or for your case it would be Korea, but they're like China or America. And it was like, you gotta choose one. It's like, and then there was like a huge argument. It was a very good scene. And that made me think about it a lot, because I get asked that so much when I travel to China. Like, which country do you like more?
Oh.
Like, you gotta pick a side.
Like,
Almost.
if you had to live in only one and you had to stay there for the whole time.
Yeah, like these weird hypothetical situations that don't exist. Like, I don't know. I guess it does if I'm like, I don't know, severely injured, about to die. I don't know.
Very true. That also makes a great common application topic about how you are neither just Asian or
But that's so
neither
basic.
just
Is
What
that what you wrote yours on?
No.
What
no
did
way.
you wrote yours about beekeeping, right?
I wrote mine on bee hotels that I
That is so cool. I wrote mine about being a writer, and it was not as cool. Probably there's probably like 200 more essays like that. Or something.
Was it like a meta essay about like writing your common app or like being a writer in general?
Being a writer in general.
Okay.
That would be too much. I don't think I would have enough content. It's like I'm sitting here and.
It's gonna get cringy.
Yeah. But I guess even though that's like really cliche, it is true. There's like both identities at play, and you can't really choose a side. Even though I'd probably pick America because I'm used to living here, you know,
Yeah.
just out of convenience.
The real question is, who do you cheer for in the Olympics?
Oh. I think we cheer for both. Because, let's be honest, China's, like, teams aren't that good. Except for in diving or something like that.
Yeah, China's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Like, I know in figure skating.
Yeah, I think it depends on, like, usually they're not really up against each other that much. Like, China's soccer, I don't know, there's something that's just, like, not there. And that's fine.
Yeah, volleyball.
Wait, I don't know about.
Volleyball?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, typically, like, the Asian teams get smacked down because they're just
Short.
shorter. Well, I mean, like, compared to the population, like,
They're very tall.
they're, yeah, extremely tall. But
Yeah.
compared to other, like, Western teams.
Then, like, does that mean, like, the Scandinavian countries are, like, giants?
Yeah.
Oh, we can't be like Haiku, like the guy who's like,
Oh, Haikyuu, yeah, Hinata. Who can...
isn't he shorter?
Yeah.
Or maybe, okay.
He's super short. I don't remember his exact height, but
But he just like jumps really high. Is that his
yeah,
thing?
that's his thing.
That's pretty cool actually.
Yeah, he's super speedy. He's like Sonic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people did write about being Asian for their Common App. I felt uncomfortable writing about that.
I feel like that's not a good demographic to ride your Common App on.
Yeah, because there's too many of us trying to get into college and... Oh, that's something you can talk about. Affirmative action. This is getting spicy. Affirmative action. I don't know. I hear Asian parents complaining about it a lot, and I don't really agree with their complaining about affirmative action. I don't know.
I don't have any strong opinions against it.
I would like to be excluded.
It's like, I don't know. I honestly don't feel like I really need to go to elite university.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, if it's affirmative action to the point where I can't attend a college, then yeah, I'd have problems, but that's not how it currently... I mean, I don't even think affirmative action plays a huge part in admissions.
Yeah, because it's not only about race, it's also about, like, I think it should be mostly about socioeconomic, which is usually tied to race. So, like, either way you go about it, right? I don't know.
Yeah, very true.
There's, like, this new documentary that's about the college admissions scandal.
Oh, interesting.
And I watched it, like, on Thursday. They got these tapes from the FBI of the conversations of, like, the guy, like, the evil guy. Or no, he's the guy who, like...
Evil guy.
It was sort of like the college admissions dealer, if you think like a drug dealer. But he, like, dealt in college admissions. And they wiretapped his phone at some point. And so they have transcripts of all these conversations he's had. And so they got, like, these actors to act out the conversations. But they also include some footage of, like, the people who were accepted, but, like, their parents kept it from them. That they paid. They basically bribed their way in.
Okay. So
A lot of the times the kids didn't know. Which I feel like sucks. But, like, I don't know.
I mean, like, I'm kind of confused. Like, do they not look at their college application and see this insane and standardized test score that they never remember getting? Is
No, they like. I think in the documentary it was like this kid that will go take an exam, and then they'll leave, and then they like bribe the proctor, and the proctor just changes the answers. And then when they check the score, they're like, "Oh shoot, I'm so smart! I got like a 33 on the ACT," and then they're like, they just go off.
clear I'm not cut out to lead a scandal in college admissions.
Ooh. I know. I don't know where I was really going with that whole thing, but I don't know. I guess I just wanted to share because I found it very shocking. Oh, the coolest thing I thought in that documentary was that they said the word prestige in French, it used to mean like deceit.
Interesting.
So it just makes, it's a whole nother level. It's like, why are we even like chasing this thing that like is just there to like make more money for the institution? I don't know.
Yeah. All Ivy Leagues are overrated.
Yeah.
Down with the bourgeoisie.
For sure. I'm saying this now on the record before I get my decision. So it doesn't seem like I'm angry yet. Even though I'm probably not going to get into any of them. But like, at least this is like before, you know?
But if you get in, you just like retract everything you just
said. Exactly. Because it's like, I don't know. Unfortunately, prestige, the deceit does matter. In our, like, especially when getting a job. But like,
yeah,
it shouldn't be that way.
It's really hard for me to disconnect my sense of self-worth from my college admissions.
Me too.
Like, everyone's like, college doesn't define you. Like, this kind of does for me.
Yeah, I think we all say that, but like from a very young age, we've been kind of fed like maybe it's not like you need to go here because it's like, because then you'll be worthy of being alive. It's more like, oh look, this person goes to this school, it's so good, and then you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You should like aspire to be like them, be as motivated as them.
Yeah. And like, I think a part of me sort of like low key, like, I don't know how to say this, I'm not trying to offend anyone.
Are you sure
but like,
about that?
I think I've come around, but the whole idea of community college for me, like, I wasn't judging people who went there, but I was just like, no, I could not go there. I must get into another college. Like, I was like so terrified of the idea of it, but like, I think now I'm like, why was I? Because it's like actually very economical.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess the thing, or like the stigma against community college is that there is no acceptance rate, so you can't be better than other people.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah, the thing with like prestige, like only a limited number of people can go there, so you're clearly special in a way, whereas community college doesn't seem as special. I guess.
Yeah. But I think it's special in another way in that like a lot of people, like you're not 18 when you go to, like a lot of people who go to community college are like older than the usual age you go to community college. It's like a very deliberate choice, like I'm here to learn this, to do this, which I think is like way better than so many kids going off to college having no idea what they're gonna do. Like, I don't know, I think that's really admirable. So, talking to no camera now because the camera has run out of space and I really should have cleared that SD card. I'm really regretting that right now. Do you watch anime?
I don't I am a closet anime watcher.
Honestly, okay. I think there's stigma against anime.
I mean,
let's talk about it.
Roll intro.
But yeah, I think there is sort of a stigma.
So wait, do you watch anime?
I used to watch a lot of anime, but then I stopped. I don't know why, actually. Maybe it's just because I don't like reading sometimes.
I don't like reading. Yeah, but I would never openly admit in public that I watch anime because of that.
Can you go into that maybe a little bit more?
I mean, like, looking at anime from an outside perspective, it's really weird because a lot of it sometimes is like sexualized because of like fan service, and it's kind of weird. And also like this isn't representative of the whole anime community, but there are certain vocal members of anime watchers who kind of you want to distance yourself from because I don't know, like things like the term waifu,
What does that mean? Sorry, please explain.
Like,
I'm so sorry.
When you're watching an anime and you see this, like a character who's a girl, like people attach themselves to that character and as like their wife, kind of. So they name them their waifu. For male characters, it's called a husbando, which is...
That sounds like Spanish. Is that... I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah. So people get into heated debates sometimes. And then the more like suspect parts about it are like body pillows, and then it gets into realms that I don't want to explore.
I kind of fall into the trap of calling people weebs, but like... I don't know, I called my sister that, but really she has a pretty good taste in anime, and she watched a lot of anime, and so like I was like the person who would be I was like observing her anime watching, so I would know some things and I would talk about them, but like I don't know, I watched like all the Naruto and like, you know, that kind of stuff, but like I guess the parts that irked me were, I guess, like the sexualization of people in anime, and it made me very uncomfortable sometimes, even if the story was great and I was like, this is so badass, they're all fighting, it's like great, but like then some parts just make me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's super uncomfortable. Like fan service is like, I'm not a fan. It's like, I don't want to watch that, it's really weird.
Yeah, I think there's some shows that are less.
I mean, like Death Note.
Oh yeah,
really.
I'm like halfway through that, not finished.
Oh, that's all you need to watch.
Don't watch the end?
No, actually you should watch the end, but it's not as great.
I think it's a cool concept. If you had a Death Note, would you use it?
No.
Most important question.
Of course not.
Of course not, you're on the record.
On the record, no. Off the record, no too.
Okay.
Just reassuring you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the whole like, which I guess I'm a part of too, calling people weebs and making fun of people who watch anime. Hey guys, so before the discussion in this episode ends, I just want to touch on a few things we talked about regarding anime, even though I do think fan service and a lot of the sexualization in anime is problematic. I really hope that our discussion didn't add to the stigma against anime that is more like, I guess more out in the general public, which is that anime is just this weird niche thing, because there are actually a lot of excellent, like masterful series of anime, like from the top of my head, Full Metal Alchemist, Steins Gate, like there's some really good stuff out there, and I really hope our discussion didn't detract from that, because I mean it is just such a huge genre, and I would think it is wrong to say that all anime is like this, and so I just want to put that in there before we end this episode. So this has been the second portion of the Teenage Tangents, and thank you, Kevin, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.